There's a reason why thievery is condemned in all cultures around the world, not to mention in basically all art forms as well. In hip-hop, being labeled a biter might as well be a death sentence to the credibility of your pen. In the world of film and television, being hit with accusations that you literally borrowed from someone else's intellectual property is a matter for the courts, often resulting in out-of-court settlements, like we saw with that classic Eddie Murphy movie Coming to America. But there's perhaps no realm of entertainment where lifting from someone else's routine is taken as seriously as in stand-up comedy, because in the most literal sense, you're stealing their thoughts directly out of their brain and presenting it as your own creation. And with the advent of the internet and social media, it's getting a whole lot harder for people to get away with. To this day, joke stealing happens in comedy scenes around the globe, and let's just say that it's never greeted with happiness.
It was an after dinner speaker. He got up and he done my medical form that's prime for me.
No way.
He done it word for word, and I stood up and I went, "That's my material," in front of 350 people at the Sheridan in Edinburgh. And then he come off and he says, "If I was any younger, I'd have smacked you in the mouth." And I went, "Well, if I was any older, I'd smack you in the mouth."
You're stealing his material?
In fact, it's deemed as such a serious offense that it led to a scandal that swept Australia's Got Talent.
The joke is up for a leading contestant on the top rating show Australia's Got Talent. A comedian who's made it into the semis has admitted using material from high-profile comics and passing it off as his own. Jordan Paris is a serial auditioner on talent shows, but his jokes may have backfired, as tonight, network executives are scrambling to work out if he should be disqualified.
I've only got 3 requirements when it comes to girls.
If I came on like that, I'll tell you something. A funny thing happened to me on the way here tonight. I think you know this one.
A funny thing happened to me on the way here tonight, guys. Come on, I think you know this one.
One, are you a girl?
Are you a girl?
Have you always been a girl?
Have you always been a girl?
And if not, can you keep a secret?
Can you keep a secret? At the end of the day, imitation is the biggest form of flattery. And I'm just in there to give it a go and make people laugh. And it's all in the delivery. And it's like saying to someone, you know when you get a text message on your phone and it's a joke, and you read that joke, you pass it on to someone else.
And in the American scene of today, there are some of those making their living as a true epidemic.
I don't know how y'all feel about it. Matter of fact, you the fans, do you even give a shit whether they steal jokes or not? Do you care if your mama gets cheated on by your daddy? You know you care.
The analogy he uses is simple and brutal. Stealing a joke on Kill Tony is like taking a taxi during a marathon. You might cross the finish line first, you might get the applause, but the GPS data exists, the internet remembers, and eventually, the fraud becomes obvious. That's the larger implication here. In a digital comedy ecosystem where clips are archived, compared, and dissected endlessly, theft isn't just unethical, it's impractical. You can't outrun collective memory forever.
But if history teaches us anything, even some of the biggest stars in the game are either victims of this practice or actively doing it to themselves. It's your boy Louaista, I'm live from Louextras, and this is the art of stealing jokes. As alluded to, these instances of comedy theft are nothing new, and neither are the consequences for doing it. According to famed stand-up Patton Oswalt, there was a zero tolerance back in the old days. Fatful, as far as comedy is concerned, was like gangsta hip-hop. W.C. Fields would wait outside the stage doors for guys who would do his act and beat the living shit out of them. Moving slightly forward to comedians like Milton Berle, known for the king of bad gags, seemed to openly confess to lifting material from those with more talent, declaring, "I don't steal people's jokes, I just found them before they're lost." This reputation was so well known that Bob Hope once remarked that Berle never heard a joke he didn't steal. In another instance, Jack Benny declared his own practice of using Berle's material by saying, "When you take a joke away from Milton Berle, it's not stealing, it's repossessing." As we progress into what we see as the golden age of comedy in the 60s and 70s, some of the most legendary names of the entire era have some allegations about appropriating jokes to their name, alongside people like Richard Pryor openly admitting that they made a lot of money stealing jokes from Bill Cosby. One of the most beloved figures in comedy as a whole is also not without fault, because back when he was still on the circuit, Robin Williams had a few instances where he was caught borrowing from other comics. Or as voiceover actor Joey Kamen put it, "I stayed away away from the guy. He used to steal material. He stole my material. He stole one of my bits and did it on the Mork and Mindy pilot, and I got really pissed. And he gave me a check for $300 and told me, don't cash it till Tuesday. I was really angry at that guy. He stole from a lot of people, but the thing was, he only stole from people that he could get it away from. You didn't see him stealing from George Carlin. It was people no one knew, or people who needed money. Some people could pay their rent just from him stealing a joke. But the whole thing is, he'd steal your joke, do it on The Tonight Show, and you'd do your joke, and people thought you stole from Robin Williams. The worst thing you can do as a comedian is steal their material, even with the payoffs he was providing. One man who wouldn't take it was David Brenner, with the veteran comedian informing Williams' agent to tell Robin if he ever takes one more line from me, I'll rip his leg off and shove it up his ass. And in the years that have passed, this has become a vital aspect of Robin Williams' legacy, and is all but accepted as fact.
You know, Robin Williams was a notorious thief. I ain't lying. His manager used to walk around with a checkbook, and Robin would come off stage and comedian would say, hey, he just took my angel, write him a check, $75.
Damn.
Because he knew Robin was all stream of conscious, and he would steal material. He was known. Comedians would go, I'm not going on because Robin's here. You know, but it happens.
Right.
But I always look at like comedy like this. If it's not the last joke I'm ever gonna tell, I ain't gonna treat it like that.
Oh, okay.
You ain't take my wife or my kid. It's just a joke. That means I gotta think of something else.
Right.
You know what I mean? But for people to be all, you know, up in arms about a joke, really, what is the joke? Did the joke end the war in the Middle East?
Right.
So there were rumors that Robin Williams was known to steal jokes.
It wasn't rumors. It was true. I've never heard of a person that was accused of being a plagiarist that wasn't a plagiarist. I've never heard of a false accusation. Robin definitely did it. Well, he used to rip. Robin was, in my opinion, like one of the best actors ever. 1 Hour Photo, many, many movies. I think he was a brilliant, brilliant actor. His style of stand-up comedy was this sort of riffing, thinking like he was coming off the top of his head, like this ad-libbing style. And a lot of times when you're doing that, and you don't have like a set structure, you run into these spots where like, you don't have anything to say. And what Robin used to do, apparently, was do other people's stuff.
Despite being such a megastar to the point that he probably didn't have to take this kind of criticism on board, Robin still eventually breached it. And while he admitted that it did happen, he insisted that there was really no ill will on his part at all.
If you hang out in comedy clubs, when I was doing almost 24/7, you hear things, and then if you're improvising, you all of a sudden you're repeating, going, oh,
Right, that's the way your brain works.
I literally had to go through a period where I'm not going to hang out anymore. I can't, because I don't want to get into that thing. And I was also like the bank of comedy, went, oh, here you go, here's money. I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
Is that how you dealt with it?
I just paid shitloads of cash. I was just like, here you go, I'm sorry. And then after a while, I went, I bought that line already, I'm sorry. And then they have to pay again. I went, oh, I'm sorry.
Then there was Andrew Dice Clay, one of the defining comedians of the 80s, whose brash persona literally made him into a superstar. And as Rich Snyder recalled, his attempts at stealing jokes were pretty flagrant.
Most joke thieves don't succeed on a bigger level. They either flame out or they get ostracized. There are some who pull off the big heist for glory. 1984, Andrew Dice Clay's manager asked me to lunch. I think he wants to manage me. But immediately, all he does is talk about Andrew, what a big star he's going to be, and how he's going to help those who help him on the way up, and they enjoy what I do about men and women in my act, and they want to buy my act. $500 was their offer. I was making $3,500 a week in a nightclub, so I didn't really see that as a good business deal. I turned him down. Not long after, I saw Andrew on the Rodney Dangerfield Young Comedian special, and he was doing all these dirty nursery rhymes. I immediately recognized him as ventriloquist act Otto and George's. They were very funny, the Otto and George ventriloquist act with the dirty rhymes. I figured Andrew and his manager must have purchased those rhymes from Otto and George. Turns out that wasn't the case. When Andrew returned to New York City as the new king of comedy, Otto made sure he confronted him at Dangerfield's nightclub. When he called him out for stealing his material, Andrew's response was, hey, I'm not f***ing around here, man. I gotta make it in this business. I know that's a terrible Andrew impression, but who gives a shit?
But perhaps one of the most blatant cases of hijacking someone's entire act in the 90s was comedian Dennis Leary. Alongside the similarities in their style, delivery, and smoking habits, there were accusations that Dennis had lifted jokes used on Billy Hicks's Relentless and repurposed them for his own No Cure for Cancer album, which came out a year later.
A friend of mine, Bill Hicks, had a lot of his acts stolen by Dennis Leary. He took a lot of the smoking bits and making fun of bad rock groups, and he didn't take the religious stuff. He was smart enough to know that that was not commercial. And Bill was really upset at the time. And I gave him some advice that was given to me by Larry David years ago, which is the only way to beat the joke thieves is to outright them. Keep writing, keep writing. So Bill dropped what he was doing, didn't worry about it, and wrote new material. He outwrote Dennis. That's what he did. That's why I remember Bill Hicks.
And as you can see, the proof is in the pudding, including a little Freudian slip, where he literally mentioned the name of the joke's original author.
Bigot! Yeah! He wants the whole front of the pack to be the warning. Like, the problem is we just haven't noticed yet, right? Like, he's gonna get his way, and all of a sudden smokers around the world are gonna be going, yeah, Bill, I've got some cigarettes. Holy shit! These things are bad for you! And be going, yeah, Bill, I've got some cigarettes. Holy shit! And be going, yeah, Bill, I've got some cigarettes. Holy shit! These things are bad for you! Shit, I thought they were good for you. I thought they had vitamin C in them and stuff. And be going, yeah, Bill, and be going, yeah, Bill, and be going, yeah, Bill, and be going, yeah, Bill. Dennis Leary. You f***ing dolt.
I'm Yul Brynner, and I'm dead now because I smoke cigarettes. Okay, pretty scary. But they could have done that with anyone. They could have done it with that Jim Fix guy, too. Remember that guy, that health nut who died while jogging?
Hey, I got 2 words for you, okay? Jim Fix. Remember Jim Fix, the big famous jogging guy? Jogged 15 miles a day, did a jogging book, did a jogging video, and dropped out of a massive heart attack. When he f***ing jogging, that's when!
At one time, Dennis and Bill were on good terms, and regularly played shows together. But once his plagiarism came into light, this controversy ended their friendship and left Hicks cracking snide jokes about it for good measure. I have a scoop for you. I stole his act. Hicks informed Austin Comedy News in 1993. I camouflaged it with punchlines, and to really throw people off, I did it before he did. And now, it's an asterisk next to any discussion of Leary's contributions to comedy.
Dennis Leary is really weird because basically Dennis Leary rips off Bill Hicks, takes Bill Hicks's act, becomes a huge star. When you really realize that Dennis Leary is not a good comedian is when he does his second stand-up special, and it's fucking atrocious because he doesn't have Bill Hicks to steal material from anymore. Dennis Leary is a fine enough actor. He was successful on TV.
Yeah, he came back on that fireman show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Rescue
stuck around
Man.
for quite a few seasons, actually. Rescue Me, yeah.
If you happen to pop in a movie from the early 90s, be careful because you might have Dennis Leary just playing himself in it. Just so fucking lazy.
Smoking a cigarette and talking about being American.
In the case of Hicks, he simply accepted the snake in his midst and kept moving. But there are some comics who you really don't want to cross, as when they find you stealing their joke, they'll hold a grudge to the end of time. One man who undeniably fits this bill is Cat Williams, a comedian who has never had any hesitation when it comes to unveiling his true feelings on anything. During his famed podcast Rant Spree of 2024, Cat had a lot to say about everything and everyone. Among those who got caught in the crossfires was none other than Cedric the Entertainer, who Cat accused of stealing one of his jokes and slightly altering the premise to try and throw people off the scent.
Listen, did you steal Cat Williams' joke?
Yeah.
He said it don't line up. How it don't line up? He thought that I was just a no-name comedian and that he could take this joke and nobody would know.
Right.
The issue was that I had already done this particular joke on BET's Comic View twice.
Right.
It had done so well on BET's Comic View that they had made it part of the commercial. So part of the commercial of make sure you tune in to BET was you seeing me doing this joke. So this is not just a random joke. This is my very best joke, and it's my last joke, and it's my closing joke.
Okay.
1998, I'm doing this joke. It's on Comic View. Cedric comes to the Comedy Store. He watches me in the audience. He comes backstage. He tells me what a great job I did and how much he loves the joke. 2 years later, he's doing that as his last joke on the Kings of Comedy, and he's doing it verbatim. He's just changed my car into a spaceship.
Typically, Cedric claimed that it never happened, but some of his phrasing when discussing it would imply that he perhaps may have been guilty of this in his past.
What up, y'all? What's up? It's I want to address this Cat Williams thing one time, man. I saw people on there really commenting about that. Look, I have no idea what this brother is talking about. That joke is over 30 years old, close to 30-something years old. I did the Kings of Comedy in 1999. Probably had been doing that joke 6-7 years before that. I don't even know if Cat was doing comedy then. So, again, he's a talented brother. I have no idea what he's talking about. I've never seen Cat do a space shuttle joke. So, that may be something that he believes is true. I've written a lot of jokes. I've had a lot of comedians steal my jokes as well. So I understand if you feel, slighted by that, but that's my joke. That's my joke, dog. Driving space shuttle to the moon, cigarette, cutie pie rocking in the background, parallel parking the spaceship. It's my joke, though. So,
where it's clear that at least one person is being deceptive, there are certain cases where the true identity of the joke's creator simply isn't up for debate, in turn leading to the other party who's been seen reciting it being hit with the stigma of a stealer. Among those worst affected by the lingering effects of this rep is Dane Cook. At one time, the Boston scene comic had risen from doing little spots around Massachusetts to selling out arenas. His fame even reached such a high point that in 2005, his stand-up album Retaliation went all the way to number 4 on the Billboard chart. However, the problem was that even though he was capable of these impressive feats, he wasn't always doing it with his own material, and reportedly, a fair amount of what he was saying came from Louis C.K.'s stand-up special, which was released 4 years prior to his.
My wife and I were thinking of having a baby, and I'd like to have a kid, because you can name your kid anything you want. I like that part. I'd like to give my kid an interesting name, you know? Like a name with no vowels, maybe, you know? Just like... Just like 40.
And make no mistake, this wasn't an isolated incident, because he did it again.
And I had an itchy asshole for like a week, and I could have won $1 million. I still would have been going, my.
The other day, I don't know if you've ever gotten this, it was about 2:30 in the afternoon. I got the itchiest I've ever gotten on record. And I keep a record of my itchy ass. May 14th, 1985, I had a very itchy.
And again.
And I didn't know what to do. I was like, I wanted to yell something, but what do you yell? And I'm trying to, like, as time slows down, I'm trying to choose the thing to yell that will have all the information that he needs. Because it was happening really fast. I had, like, that much time to yell, you know. What can I yell in that much time? It's, hey, you guys, my God! You know, that's not...
I did try to help this man.
As blatant as this was, Lewis seemed to take it in stride more than your average comedian. And later, they parodied the whole situation on Lewis's former TV show. In the process, he bailed Dane out a little, suggesting that the fact that they moved in the same circles made it impossible that it was not theft, but rather done subliminally.
I don't think that you saw me do those jokes and said, I'm going to tell those jokes too. I don't think there's a world where you're that stupid or that bad a guy. I think you saw me do them. I know you saw me do them, and I think they just went in your brain. I don't think you meant to do it, but I don't think you stopped yourself either. And that's why I never felt the need to help you not be hated by a lot of people.
You know, the one thing that, like, really just gets to me is the whole thing about people saying that I stole the joke about the itchy hole, because I get an itchy a lot. So for you to think that you're the only person who got an itchy in America, I mean, that's bullshit, you know?
You should try a natural laundry detergent.
What?
Even if the method may have differed, the effect was basically the same, as the accusations aided in his reputation in comedy tanking as other acts began to take over.
And Chappelle, supposedly, the story goes, came into the Laugh Factory one night. You could ask him. And Jamie said, hey, it's Dane's night. And Chappelle, this is the height of Chappelle's show and everything. He's like, what the fuck, what does that mean? He's like, it's just Dane's night. He's like, just do a tight 10. And he's like, okay. Now, any other comedian would go do 45 fucking minutes. That's just what most people do. But Chappelle, if this is true, and we already know he's a different animal anyway, he goes up and does a tight 10. But right at the end goes, you know what? I don't usually do this, but I'm going to go outside and smoke some cigarettes. If y'all want to come out, hang out, take pictures, whatever, I'll be out there. And the whole crowd fucking walked away. And he's like, there's Dane's night.
And looking back, Dane felt that they tried to bring him down due to the success that he was having, rather than taking any responsibility for his own role in the downfall. When a comedian is caught making liberal use of other people's material, there is a strange defense mechanism that kicks in, where they refuse to take the L and maintain their innocence. Sometimes they even act like it's a complete witch hunt, and that they have nothing to apologize for whatsoever. When it comes to fitting this bill, there are few people who meet the criteria quite like Carlos Mencia, the stage name of Honduran-American comedian Ned Holness. The stand-up's whole gimmick was to revel in all the prejudices against the Hispanic communities, rather than critique them whatsoever. You can argue that was an issue in itself, but the real problem was that his nickname of Carlos Mencia would prove to sink his entire career over time. Because even when he was at the peak of his success with his TV show Mind of Mencia, these allegations dogged the comic to the point that fellow Hispanic comedian George Lopez literally scolded him for having the audacity to borrow his content.
Yeah. Someone told me you have a feud with this guy.
No,
I think I had him on my show.
Oh,
the Mind of Mencia. That's what you're talking about.
You have a feud with him, right?
I don't know if it's much a feud as...
Did you punch him out or something?
Yeah, I did.
You did? What happened? Tell me.
Feud. Well, you know, the guy was pretty liberal with some of the material, you know. And
this is a comedian?
He had an HBO one-night stand that I think had like... we counted 13 minutes of my material on it.
But this was just a prelude before the shutdown between him and Joe Rogan at the Comedy Store, which was not only caught on camera, but put the final bullet in his reputation. During their standoff, a pre-megastar Rogan decided to play the role of the advocate for all the comedians who had had their material lifted, while Carlos maintained it was just some petty vendetta.
Important enough that he had to end the show by saying Carlos Mencia. That's who I am.
You don't know how difficult it is for comedy. You don't know that nobody supports comedy. You don't know that nobody... If someone steals a riff from a song, that shit's in the news constantly. Steal shit and make it on HBO. They steal shit, they put it on television. What are you saying? Listen,
He's saying that you're acting like a little... Yes. Not agreeing with you. They don't even know what the I do. No, let me tell you what I think. I think that every time you open your mouth, you talk about me, I think that you're secretly in love with me because you can't shut the about me. That's what I personally think. You always open your mouth about me. You always say what you want about me. You never shut the up. You never shut the up. That's not for you. That's not for you.
And alongside incriminating himself by knowing what he was referring to, he also simply couldn't lie his way out of clearly borrowing a joke from Rogan Sphere comedian Ari Shaffir at this early stage in his career.
Yes, go ahead. Tell everybody.
You steal material.
What material?
Constantly, bro.
What material?
You use Ari's bit verbatim about...
Wait a minute. Oh, you mean the bit that either George Lopez did when he just did that show?
Ari did it a long time ago when he was opening for you. You saw him do it.
When did he open for? He never opened for me.
Dude, I opened for you and did that joke in the rooms you performed in.
I was doing that joke before.
No, you weren't.
Yes, bro.
Absolutely not. Here's his new thing. I don't know if you guys heard this. He wants to build a new wall all down the California-Mexico border. Like a 12-foot high brick wall. It's like 3 feet deep. So no Mexicans get in. But I'm like, dude, Arnold, who do you think's gonna build that wall?
I propose that we kick all the illegal aliens out of this country. Then we build a super fence so they can't get back in. And I win. Who's gonna build it? That's the fucking joke.
To make matters worse, footage showed that he stole from a friend of his too, Bad Friends podcast host and renowned comic Bobby Lee.
Bobby Lee's his friend.
I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is.
That's Ned Holness.
Oh, I know Ned Holness. Yeah, he's really good. Hey, that's all that stuff.
How's he doing?
Hey, all that stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah, Ned.
Do a couple minutes of his material.
Well, I'll just do some of my material and then it'll be the same. You know, so I'll just talk about myself.
What has he ever stolen from you?
I used to do this bit about how I was so small that my dad would have to get on my shoulders to get on rides at Disneyland. Right? Then he did a bit, literally, but I can't do it. But where is this going?
Who cares? What the f***? It's reality.
Even before viral videos were really a thing, this one was inescapable at the time, and upon reflection, it basically torched Mencia's reputation in one fell swoop.
Joe Rogan, by the way, I think single-handedly destroyed his career.
It didn't just affect his standing among comics either, because The Mind of Mencia was canceled the following year, and his television career essentially bombed. Then he was parodied by South Park, where he was seen stealing a 4th grader's joke. But in classic fashion, Carlos is still indignant about the whole situation, hoping to exonerate himself whenever the mic is in front of him.
But here's what I do now. Right. When I do a podcast or something like that and they want to bring it up, I say, look, you could bring up anything you want. I only ask this. If you're going to bring up my joke stealing, you need to have somebody there that's going to say he stole my joke.
Right.
Have that guy there and we'll discuss it. Because yesterday my 16-year-old, it's ironic, yesterday my 16-year-old kid goes, Dad, ever since I can remember people hate on you, you haven't even put out a special in 13 years until now. Why, Dad? And I was like, I have no idea. So I asked the question about it.
quiet, and somebody said, well, look at these people and these people and these people, and they said this and this and that. I said, yeah, but every single one of those people said I stole jokes from somebody else. It was never you took it from me. It was, well, you took it from somebody else. You took it from somebody else.
And perhaps even more shockingly, he actively plays the victim and basically infers that Rogan destroyed his life.
And in order to maintain the lifestyle that I want for my kids, I wouldn't have to be working this hard if it wasn't for that. Dude, my son, yesterday, he's 18 years old. He goes, Dad, I've been wanting a car, but I don't want to ask. And I was like, why? Why, son? You know, you're 18, you want to start driving, just, you know, let's go. And he goes, no, Dad, I know how hard you have to work and all the shit that went down. And he hugged me and he said, because of that Joe Rogan shit. Dude, to hear my son say that shit affected him, bro, it is painful.
Of course it is.
And then to have people like you say you need to apologize, I need to apologize when my son is being affected by a fucking joke.
However, he's getting little to no sympathy because, for the most part, people feel that Mencia brought it on himself. He wasn't saying that when he was on top, stealing people's jokes and selling out specials. Everything has consequences, and unfortunately, you're feeling them now. This is obviously true. But it's fair to say that the degree to which people suffer an L after being caught out varies. A while back, the Wayans brothers were accused of stealing the whole premise of their 2009 book, 101 Ways to Know You're a Gold Digger, from a writer known as Jared Evans. Reportedly, the writer worked with Keenan Ivory, Sean, and Marilyn for a decade, and pitched the idea for a book that would include material like, you know you're a gold digger when you know more about sports players' stats than an ESPN analyst. But reportedly, they turned it down before publishing their own versions, and this led to a lawsuit. Things got even messier when the parties stipulated that certain alleged bad acts won't be brought up in court, including allegations that Edwards committed check fraud and borrowed $12,000 from Sean, that Edwards engaged in sexual acts in Sean's vehicle, and that Edwards threw a phone at Marlon. Eventually, the matter was settled out of court, but the damage to Wayne's pockets was likely minimal. They're certainly not the only people to basically get away with it either. In a bid to get airtime during his stint on SNL, Jay Moore admitted to stealing a joke about an Irish bartender from comedian Rick Shapiro in his book Gasping for Airtime, repurposing it as O'Callahan and Sons Pub. Eventually, Shapiro settled with NBC for an undisclosed amount, and as a condition of the settlement, the sketch was removed from any future rebroadcasts, but it still doesn't sit well with him to this day.
Jay Moore stole it. Wrote about it in his book that he stole it. Said I was getting paid. I didn't get paid a dime. And all these comics go, Jay confessed, man. I said, are you a man? 8 comics the day it came out, sitting at a bar, each turned around and goes, Jay confessed. Pretty cool of him, right? Jay confessed. He didn't confess it to me. So he confessed. I go, no, he didn't. If you're shaving and you stole something, when you have that moment, it says, I should call the guy I stole this from.
While for some comics, being outed as a flagrant joke thief can have catastrophic effects on your standing amid your profession and do little to kill your cash flow elsewhere. Someone who knows all about this is Amy Schumer, the widely hated comedian whose accusations of theft were enough to merit a full 25-minute compilation on YouTube. So here's just a couple of examples.
I think the guy should always pay on the first date for sex.
Now listen to comedian Wendy Liebman from a 1995 routine.
Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I like it when the guy pays.
Then there's a joke from comedian Kathleen Madigan.
Okay, so I get why poor people are fat. But Oprah, you're a billionaire. You have enough money to pay a man to stand there and literally slap out of your hand before you put it in your mouth.
Compare that to this skit from Schumer's Comedy Central show, Inside Amy Schumer.
Slap Chef, what's that? It's a new weight loss program that takes decision-making out of the equation. How does it work?
Slap Chef. Sandwiches. Slap Chef. Fettuccine Alfredo. Slap Chef.
Kathleen Madigan retweeted this. Stealing jokes is despicable and should result in being tarred and feathered.
That women dress for other women, right? That's why men, if we love you, we dress you for other women too. That's why we dress you stupid. Because we want another woman to look at you and go, he's cute, but I can't fix all of this. What do you think invented the Hawaiian shirt, okay?
Now listen to this line from Trainwreck, which was written by Schumer.
You dress him like that so nobody else wants to have sex with him? That's cool.
At times, you could argue that these jokes might have come to her independently. But there are also times where she's clearly borrowed material from comedians like Ali Wong, Dave Attell, and Zach Galifianakis before working it into her own act.
So I know what you guys are thinking this part of the night. You're like, Amy, wow, you're really well read.
Because balls are disgusting, aren't they? Wow. And they stink. Yeah, they do. All right, I'll speak for my balls. On my best day, my balls might smell like a foot. On my best day.
He's brave, okay? He's brave. And I'm gonna tell you why he's brave. And this does not leave this theater. And this does not leave your home. Here's why he's brave. On my pussy's best day. After all of that, on its already best day, my pussy smells like a small barnyard animal, okay?
If I do a nude scene on television, people will commend me for being courageous. For doing it.
So I tweet out this photo of myself, okay? I'm holding coffee, I'm topless in just underwear, and it goes viral. Like it was everywhere, every news show, every website. And that's when I learned the word you don't want people to use when a nude photo of you goes viral. Brave?
At one stage, she was even brazen enough to go on Ellen and do her old material in front of her.
Is the popcorn really that delicious we must shovel handfuls of it into our mouth?
You know, at first don't you always kind of start out kind of like lying to yourself? Like, like one piece at a time, you know, and then like you get a little more real, right? And then eventually you just like, you get real and it's just, like I've split my lip trying to get one more kernel. It's true.
Back when this first came to light, it was a source of much debate, with those who actively worked with her, such as Judd Apatow, trying to brush it under the carpet.
There's just a cycle of build-up and then attack in the media, because you can only praise people for so long. And almost out of boredom, it all shifts to looking for something. Sure. And it's the most ridiculous issue ever. I mean, as you know, as comedians, you know, we've seen every joke. There's not a night I'm at the Comedy Cellar where I can't trace premises to other people, whether they saw it or not. I mean, there's only so many things to talk about and ways to say it, and we all come from the same media culture. And so there's definitely like moments of overlap. I remember Fred Stoller being really mad at me because I did a bit about my phone having a speed dial. You know, you used to have like 10 speed dials on your phone. And so I had some joke, this is like 91, about how I didn't have enough friends to fill my speed dial. And so it would be like, you know, 3 friends and mom, dad, 911, 411, operator. And it wasn't a great joke. And Fred Stoller. It wasn't a great joke. You know, it's a good joke. It's a good joke for 91. But I remember Fred Stoller walking up to me and saying, I have a can't fill my speed dial joke. And he was furious.
Then, more comedians got caught up with the undertow, with writer Kurt Metzger embarrassing himself trying to defend Schumer on the Joe Rogan Experience.
I was there, and also I know comedy, and I know better than you jerk off at home. So if I tell you, just think I know better. I'll just put it that way. Maybe that's arrogant, but I just been doing it for 20 years, and you never had the balls to get on stage. So I think I just know better. They're outraged.
You're fighting with someone who's not even here. Nobody even knows what you're fighting over right there. You just started some joke thief fight. No one has any idea what the you're saying.
All right, so they create this fucking, you know, it's like a smear job.
But wait a minute. There were bits that were exactly the same as bits that were on
very mediocre bits that anyone would have thought of?
Dude, relax. But the problem with what you're saying is they have evidence. They're looking at one bit, and it's exactly the same as another bit.
If I look at the evidence and I come to a different conclusion, let's go with my conclusion because I was there.
What about due
process? And the guys who are saying it,
there's a due process guy. That's not enough. That's not enough. That's not enough to convince someone. Oh,
dude,
just trust me.
Do you think we in the writers' room?
Isn't that like some authoritative sheriff type shit? Just trust me.
Hey, I'm not going to them. To the sheriff. Wait. I'm not going to them. They're coming to me.
Naturally, Schumer denied it all, claiming she'd go to serious lengths in order to prove her innocence.
I did not steal any jokes, and I wouldn't. I will literally take a polygraph, and I just would never do that. Like, that would be so stupid for me to do that.
But the damage was done as far as most people were concerned, leading many fans to simply write her off as a hack. She made them all less funny too. I thought her career was basically telling jokes and making them boring. Nowadays, she's hated in comedy, to the point that she's essentially been turned into a punchline.
Not a single joke I tell tonight is original, including that one, so I'm just telling you.
Yeah, I heard it
But I'm not a
before.
comedian, so I can steal jokes.
Right. You're absolutely right. That's why Amy Schumer gets to do it.
But much like Mencia and others, she remains defiant, insisting that the whole thing was overblown.
Make it good, because this movie... What? Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I did. He asked if I stole those jokes. Yes, I didn't know that anyone had ever talked about the difference between men and women before.
Still, the evidence is there, and gradually, Amy's career has slowed down to the point that she's no longer the bankable movie star that she once was. But at least, she had the chance to be supported by some people for even a little while. Because for Brendan Schaub, that must feel like a distant memory. Following his initial run on the Fighter and the Kid podcast with Brian Callen and his regular appearances on the JRE, Schaub decided to try and capitalize with a stand-up career. The only problem was that he forgot to write material and borrowed that of other comedians instead.
And it is loud. Smoke, it's like 4th of July. Everyone's like, oh my God, what is that? What the fuck is that?
I go to Chili's and order fajitas. You know what I'm talking about, you order those fajitas, it's like popping. Like those fajitas hit the floor, it's all...
Dang,
No,
bro.
I'm kidding. There's a bit about Schaub, like, I guess he said, people say he stole some fajita joke from me.
But as most comedians do when faced with accusations of thievery, he claimed it was completely accidental.
Being like, oh, Schaub stole a bit from Nick Swartzen. He must have done a special on, I don't know, about fajitas. And I had a bit on fajitas, and remember my girl's Mexican, right? So
Yeah, but you wrote a lot of
we had all
food, Mexican food jokes.
Yeah, a ton of them.
That-
So the fajitas, when I was saying how embarrassing it is, like ordering bottle service at the club, like when you order fajitas, like, you're like, geez, like it's embarrassing. Like everyone
Steve
turns
Byrne has a joke
and
like that,
watches
too.
you, I'm sure. So I do, it's not a special or anything. I do that bit at the Comedy Store. I wrote it, I don't know, right before I went on, right? So I do that bit maybe 3 times, and then some fan was like, oh, that's like Nick Swartzen's bit. I go, Nick has a fajita bit? He goes, yeah. And this is what people don't realize. The comedy community is pretty tight-knit. We all know each other. So all I do is Nick is a friend is text him and go, hey man, heard you have a fajita bit. I have a new bit that I wrote about fajitas. You have a fajita bit? He goes, I have something like it. What's your premise? I go, fajitas, how embarrassing it is when you order fajitas. It's sizzling. It's like ordering bottle service at the club. He goes, not exactly like mine. I can see how people see it. I went, all good, not going to do it anymore. Well, I was even influenced by Nick Swartzen. I've never seen his hour. I just know, I don't watch a ton of comedy.
In Brendan's case, things can get particularly damning as often he doesn't have the capacity to even amend them and is just basically quoting from films and TikToks.
He's my... I'm the first one. He Kobayashi.
I have to sell or lease at least 80 choppers to make my nut. And you mess with my nut, Brennan? Randy here is gonna eat your dick.
Like Kobayashi.
Been saying, dude, that Bud Light sponsored a tranny or some shit, dude. And apparently it makes you gay. I'm like, man? Been drinking Bud Light for years, man. And I don't see how it makes you gay.
How about Bud Light? God, they messed up. Boy, they just didn't read the room, did they? I don't see the problem with Bud Light, dude. I love Bud Light. Like, dude, people are so homophobic. Like, oh, you're gonna drink Bud Light, turn gay? Get it out of here.
And in the case of his blatant rehash of the social media clip, Brendan would go on to post his own video just one day later. Then he basically paraphrased Bill Burr's crowd work from Philly, as though no one would notice his liberal use of one of the most famed moments in recent stand-up history.
Philadelphia has a statue of Rocky Balboa. It's not even real.
Fucking Rocky is your hero. The whole pride of your city is built around a fucking guy who doesn't even exist. You got fucking Joe Frazier is from you stupid Philly cheesy and jackasses.
Interestingly, Rogan overlooked the fact that Brendan did this years on from his crusade against Mencia, with Brendan even ripping off Bobby Lee to the extent that even Brandon Callen very narrowly avoided outing him.
Okay, when I was 9, I got molested by a guy with Down syndrome.
Don't laugh, Brendan.
I'm not laughing.
Why'd you laugh?
It's just.
That's fucking rude.
It's such a curveball.
That's a difficult
Dude,
thing.
I got molested by a kid with Down syndrome. I got molested. I was a division. No, I'm telling you, I was a Division 1 at University of Colorado. He was like, I don't know. He'd worked in the athletic building, and he had a twin brother who also had Down syndrome, and he was older, and they were gonna let them go, or they're going somewhere else or something. But I was like, oh yeah, he's so nice. He would always rub my ass. He'd always I'd be sitting there, he'd always rub me. And I thought he rubbed everyone. I was like, oh, did he not rub you guys? They're like,
Should bring
no.
him up on charges.
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. Wait, Brendan, this is the first time you told the story on air?
And as his futile attempts to be funny continued to fall flat, he reached the point where he was plagiarizing popular comedy shows just to have something to say.
Yeah, that's him on top.
Hot dog skin is hilarious.
How funny is that?
That's the
Does it-
tannest, best looking guys have hot dog skin.
They all have hot dog skin, right? Hulk Hogan looks like a hot dog.
Dude, hot dog skin's the best expression ever.
No.
When did you come up with that?
For
I
a
don't
while
know.
ago.
A while ago.
That's beautiful.
That's how I describe Hulk
Congratulations.
Hogan. No.
Congratulations. There's a few descriptions in my life that have really sunk home. Oh, shit.
About Hulk Hogan's hair. It's blonde and yet it's silken like that of a Chinese man.
Ah, yes. That is Hulk Hogan's signature look. Blonde Chinese hair.
Mercifully, Brendan has hung up the stand-up mic for now, citing reasons other than his blatant theft of other comics material, but only time will tell if he sticks to it. Where a case such as Schumer seems fairly cut and dry that there is some kind of artistic fraud afoot, there are instances that are a little more nuanced and complicated. At times, some of the accused even fight back successfully. Years ago, Conan O'Brien was sued by Robert Alexander Kaysberg after he had been accusing him and others on his TBS show of stealing jokes from his Twitter account and blog. This led to a lengthy court battle, with Conan eventually settling the situation, but not before posting a lengthy article which he sought to get to the bottom of what really happened. 4 years ago, my writers and I were sued by a man in San Diego who claimed that we stole 5 jokes from his blog and Twitter account. I'll tell you what we told him, and what we subsequently swore under oath in a deposition. We had never heard of him or his blog or his Twitter account, and we did not steal any of his jokes. Short of murder, stealing material is the worst thing any comic can be accused of. And I have devoted 34 years in show business striving for originality. Had I, for 1 second, thought that any of my writers took material from someone else, I would have fired that writer immediately, personally apologized, and made financial reparations. But I knew that we were in the right. How did I know? I knew because different people around the world come up with the same joke all the time, especially when the joke is topical. I was made aware of this 24 years ago when, on the same night, David Letterman, Jay Leno, and I all told an identical Dan Quayle is dumb joke. Dan Quayle announced today that he will not be running for president in '96. However, he did not rule out running in '97. Back then, no one sued anyone because each of us knew that topical comedy often follows a pattern. It's an occupational hazard. You try hard to avoid it, but sometimes comedians inadvertently step on each other's feet. Clearly, he felt that the answer wasn't clear and revealed that when he did some digging, things basically went in both directions. During this time, we asked our writer's assistant to monitor our accusers' tweets to avoid any other accidental overlap, and she discovered 15 examples where he tweeted similar jokes after we had written them for my program. And this is the guy who is suing us? Did we countersue? No, we did not, because I knew that he had not stolen from us, just as we had not stolen from him. But unfortunately, there are still times where the originator of jokes find themselves struggling to get their due when a more successful comic throws their weight around to get the accusations of joke stealing to die down. This particular story begins with British comedian Kay Kurt's routine about a smart refrigerator or fridge that he performed on national TV. At the time, Darius Davies was watching a show in his house and realized that the routine was frighteningly similar to one that he'd been performing on the circuit. Initially, he reached out to Kurt and asked for an apology, but when that didn't fly, he commenced to air out exactly what happened.
During lockdown, I thought to myself, you know what, like I'm doing well in life, right? Let me buy a fridge, right?
It's been a big week for me. I bought my first major white goods appliance, right? I bought a fridge.
Do you know when you know you've made it in life? You know when you get one of them grey or silver fridges, right? That dispense ice. Oh my days.
Final thing is a fridge with an ice dispensing machine. Oh, that is, there's no one richer than anyone with a fridge with an ice dispensing machine in their house. Looking at the guy tried to sell me a smart connected fridge.
I was like, hold on, what's a smart fridge, bruv? He's like, well, this one, sir, it connects to the internet. I was like, listen.
And I was like, what, why does it have internet on it? Is it to text me? Because it's got an app. I said, the fridge has got an app. He goes, yeah, it's going to send you notifications. I said, it's going to send me notifications. Yeah, it will text you.
We'll send you a text message when you need something, right? I looked at him dead in the eyes and I was like, bruv, I'm not married for a reason.
I said, look, let's set this straight, right? I've got a girlfriend, I've got a wife, I don't need no needy fridge. Texting me on my mobile phone.
Suddenly I get a text message and I'm like, oh.
Suddenly you get a text message.
Right, like she's texting me, like, you know,
when are you home? Where are you?
all this sort of stuff, right? So now
texting me on my mobile phone. Like, hey Darius, it's 11:30, where you putting your meat tonight? Like, fuck off, fridge. Hey Darius, I've got eggs in here, but no sausage. When you coming back?
After the two bits were seen side by side, the original creator of the joke had everyone convinced that he was wronged. Even his delivery has a tone of guilt, pretty much word for word. Too many times, acts go on television or have a big agent and use someone's jokes, then try to gaslight the original comedian who wrote the joke. Davies told the comedy website Chortle at the time. But despite the success that he had in proving to the world that he had been wronged, it didn't stop Kurt and his agents from beginning libel proceedings at the High Court against Davies over his public accusations of plagiarism. Sadly, this is the real dark side of joke stealing. When young comedians who are afraid of being blackballed refuse to speak out of fear, or otherwise penalized for simply trying to defend what's theirs. Other times, comedians are cool enough and they could work it out amicably, such as the situation with Neil Brennan and Kamau Bell, where it truly was just a case of parallel thought.
I had a joke in my Blocks Netflix special.
Atheism is really like the height of white privilege. It really is, because religion basically says like, hey, can we interest you in an afterlife? And white people are like, oh, no, thank you.
The editor told me, I think Kamau Bell did this joke. I text you and say, I have this joke. What should I do? And you said, use it. It was on one of my specials that wasn't popular enough anyway. So you were like, you know what? Fuck me.
Yeah. Above all, what's abundantly clear is that even though there are more ways to get caught than ever before, some comedians will still have the gall to try and get away with it, even when the deck is stacked. And while justice is often served and the comedians who've been playing fast and loose with other IP are outed, it's sad to know that there are still times where things don't go the right way. My name is Louaista, and I'm gonna catch you guys on the next one. Peace.